Today, I'm going to tell you one of the most fascinating stories in human history. Who really invented the first airplane? Was it a world-famous scientist working in a high-tech laboratory? Was it a brilliant aerospace engineer with years of formal training? Or was it just two ordinary brothers who used to fix bicycles for a living? Yes, you heard that right. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the incredible true story of Orville and Wilbur Wright, the two bicycle makers who dared to dream of flying and actually made it happen. Get ready, because this is the story of how two determined brothers from a small American town changed the world forever.
It was the early 1900s, and flying was still considered impossible. Countless inventors had tried. Brilliant minds, rich businessmen, even governments poured money into it, but one after another, they all failed. Then, in a quiet little city called Dayton, Ohio, two brothers, who spent most of their days repairing bicycles, quietly began working on something crazy. A machine that could actually lift a human being into the sky and bring him back alive. What happened next would change the course of human history forever. For thousands of years, humans dreamed of flying like birds. Leonardo da Vinci sketched wild flying machines in his notebooks. Centuries later, Otto Lilienthal became the first true pioneer, jumping off hills with his dangerous gliders, but almost everyone failed. The reason? They could get their machines off the ground, but they couldn't control them. Once a plane was in the air, it became unstable, unpredictable, and deadly. The biggest unsolved problem wasn't power. It wasn't even wings. It was control. How to keep the aircraft stable and steer it exactly where the pilot wanted. That was the mountain no one had climbed until two bicycle-making brothers from Ohio decided to solve it. Here's the most surprising part. Orville and Wilbur Wright were not scientists. They were not trained engineers. They were simple bicycle mechanics. But that turned out to be their greatest advantage, because working on bikes every day, they had developed a deep understanding of balance, motion, and steering, the exact skills needed to keep something stable in the air. In their tiny backyard workshop, these two brothers began building wings, propellers, and a revolutionary control system no one had ever tried before. They tested, failed, rebuilt, and tested again, hundreds of times. What they were doing in that small Ohio shop would soon change the world. Then came the day that changed everything. December 17th, 1903. Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, a cold, windy morning on the sandy dunes. That morning, the Wright Flyer, a fragile-looking machine built with wood, cloth and wire, roared to life. Orville Wright lay flat on the lower wing, gripping the controls. At 10:35 a.m., the impossible happened. The Wright Flyer lifted off the ground under its own power. For the very first time in human history, a powered, heavier-than-air machine flew in a straight, controlled line. The flight lasted only 12 seconds and covered just 120 feet, but it changed the world forever. Later that same day, Wilbur took his turn and flew 852 feet in 59 seconds, 4 flights in total, each one longer and more controlled than the last. Humanity had finally conquered the sky. But what made the Wright brothers truly special wasn't that they got a plane off the ground. It was that they solved the biggest problem no one else could crack: control. They created a revolutionary system that let the pilot fully control the aircraft in 3 dimensions. Their plane had 3 ground-breaking innovations. First, an elevator at the front for pitching the nose up and down. Second, a rudder at the back to steer left and right. And third, their most brilliant invention, wing warping. By twisting the wings, they could roll the plane and keep it perfectly balanced in the air. These 3 control systems, developed in a small bicycle shop, became the foundation of every airplane that has ever flown since. This is why we don't just call them inventors. We call them the fathers of modern aviation. The Wright brothers' invention didn't just prove that humans could fly, it completely revolutionized the world. travel, commerce or warfare, nothing would ever be the same again. By 1910, just 7 years after that historic day at Kitty Hawk, airplanes were already carrying mail, passengers and cargo through the skies. And today, billions of people fly every single year. Think about that. Every time you board a plane, you're living proof of what two determined brothers from a small bicycle shop dared to dream. This is how two ordinary men changed human history forever. But here's what makes their achievement even more incredible. The Wright brothers built almost everything themselves, by hand. They designed and built their own lightweight engine. They shaped the propellers. They constructed the wings and the frame in their small bicycle workshop. And before that famous day at Kitty Hawk, they conducted over 700 test flights, crashing, learning, fixing, and trying again and again. Through pure creativity, endless experimentation, and unbreakable persistence, these two self-taught brothers finally proved something the world had doubted for centuries, that humans could truly defy gravity. So, who really invented the airplane? It wasn't a famous scientist in a fancy lab. It wasn't a rich businessman or a government project. It was two determined brothers, Orville and Wilbur Wright, who started as bicycle makers and ended up changing the world. Next time you step onto a plane, take a moment and remember their incredible journey. Two ordinary men with nothing but creativity, persistence and a dream conquered the sky. If you enjoyed this story, do me a favor. Hit that like button, drop a comment and subscribe for more amazing stories of human innovation. Don't forget to turn on the bell icon so you never miss a new video. And if this inspired you even a little, share it with someone who needs to dream bigger. Because the next big breakthrough might just come from someone exactly like the Wright brothers. See you in the next video.